We're picking up again in Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 36. The Lord shall bring you and your king which you shall set over you unto a nation which neither you nor your fathers have known, and there shall you serve other gods, wood and stone. Notes. Now this is exactly what happened, okay? Verse 37, and I'm going to have to say this with a lot of bad feelings. And you shall become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all the nations where the Lord shall lead you. Notes. Now, this has been fulfilled to the exact letter as well concerning Israel. Now, the really sad part about that is these rules and these laws obviously do not just apply to the nation of Israel. You see, the United States was founded on godly principles, and this entire chapter right here is like a grocery list of all the things that are going wrong with us. Bottom line is we are forgetting God. The gates of our defenses are burning down every single day, and the fruits of those things are plainly obvious. We need to get back to the Lord. Verse 38. You shall carry much seed out into the field, and shall gather but little in, for the locust shall consume it. Okay, more effort wasted. Verse 39. You shall plant vineyards and dress them, but shall neither drink of the wine nor gather the grapes, for the worm shall eat them. You shall have olive trees throughout all your coasts, but you shall not anoint yourself with the oil, for your olive shall cast his fruit. Notes. In other words, it's talking about kind of a premature birth of an olive tree. It's going to cast its fruit too early, okay? Or it's not going to bring forth fruit at all. Verse 41. You shall beget sons and daughters, but you shall not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity. Notes. They will be stolen as slaves by heathen tribes. And guess what? That's exactly what happened. Verse 42. All your trees and fruit of your land shall the locust consume. The stranger that is within you shall get up above you very high, and you shall come down very low. Notes. You have to keep in mind that the word stranger is actually Gentile, okay? Gentiles in Israel will prosper, but the Israelites won't. Verse 44. He shall lend to you, and you shall not lend to him. He shall be the head, and you shall be the tail. Moreover, all these curses shall come upon you, and shall pursue you, and overtake you until you be destroyed, because you hearken not unto the voice of the Lord your God, to keep his commandments and his statutes which he has commanded you. And they shall be upon you for a sign and a wonder, and upon your seed forever. Notes. This, though it may imply the final and utter rejection of Israel as a nation, does not, however, preclude the hope of restoration. In fact, Israel will be fully restored. Just read Romans chapter 11, verse 25 up to 27. And there, if my memory serves me correctly, there is a verse in Isaiah chapter 12, verse 11 through 12, that speaks of there being two specific points when Israel will have a regathering of sorts. The first one happened in May 15th of 1948, where hundreds of Jews all over the world began to flock to Israel because Israel was reestablished. The greater part of that will happen much later whenever Jesus himself comes back. And he's going to look upon those people, and they will have no doubt as to who the Messiah is, okay? Verse 47. Because you serve not the Lord your God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart for the abundance of all things. Notes. Okay, all of these curses would come upon them because they just simply would not serve God. It's just easier to do things God's way, okay? No matter how tough times get. God's looking for tough people because tough times don't last, but tough people do. God wants people that can cut the mustard when it needs cutting. Verse 48. Therefore shall you serve your enemies, which the Lord shall send against you, in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon your neck until he have destroyed you. Notes. To put this very, very quickly, if Israel's not going to serve God, then they would end up serving their enemies. It's as plain as day. Verse 49. The Lord shall bring a nation against you from afar, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagles fly, a nation whose tongue you shall not understand. Notes. That happened time and time again. Again and again and again. Numerous times. We'll cover them all. Verse 50. A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young. Notes. This describes all nations which don't know the Lord. Verse 51. And he shall eat the fruit of your cattle, and the fruit of your land, until you be destroyed, which also shall not leave you either corn, wine, or oil, or the increase of your kine, or flocks of your sheep, until he have destroyed you. Notes. Now, once again, corn should have been translated as wheat because they didn't have that particular vegetation. But the idea of verse 51 is you're going to experience complete destruction if you don't get your head in the game. Verse 52. And he shall besiege you in all your gates until your high and fenced walls come down, wherein you trusted throughout all your land. And he shall besiege you in all your gates throughout all your land, which the Lord your God has given you. Notes. These cities will be destroyed, and guess what? They were destroyed by the Babylonians. We'll cover one of my favorite kings in the Bible, who is Nebuchadnezzar, and he's my favorite king not only because of the humorous things that happened to him, but it's because he's one of the few Gentile kings who wisened up. You'll find him in the book of Daniel, verse 53. And you shall eat the fruit of your own body, the flesh of your sons and your daughters, which the Lord your God has given you, in the siege and in the straitness wherewith your enemies shall distress you. Notes. This is really rather disgusting, but it's exactly as predicted here. Israel ultimately, whenever they started disobeying the Lord and he let the nations do whatever they wanted, Israel ultimately resorted to cannibalism. You can find that in 2 Kings chapter 6 verse 28 through 29, Jeremiah 19:9, and Lamentations chapter 2 verse 20, also in Lamentations chapter 4 verse 10. You have to remember that God did not want to do this, but because they just simply did not want to listen to him, he just simply departs, and he just kind of looks back and, well, you want to serve all these gods, you want to bow down to a stone idol instead of the real God? Well, fine. You just go right on ahead and pray to that God, and you're just going to work and do all these horrible things until you get your head back on straight. Verse 54. So that the man who is tender among you and very delicate, his eye shall be evil toward his brother, and toward his wife of his bosom, and toward the remnant of his children which he shall leave. Notes. In other words, there's not going to be any love in the family, but only hatred. Verse 55. So that he will not give any of them of the flesh of his children whom he shall eat, because he has nothing left him in the siege and in the straitness wherewith your enemies shall distress you in all your gates. Notes. Israel could be reduced to such, well, it's beyond comprehension, but they were. However, they couldn't say that they were not warned. God told them specifically, if you start disobeying me and you start just going off and doing your own little thing, I'm going to remove my protection, and I'm not going to defeat your enemies who come against you. I'm just going to stand back. And that's exactly what happened. We'll have to pick up in Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 56. Thank you, and God bless. Chapter 28, verse 56. Goodbye.